And then our humanness is very, we're very human, and we live human lives. And I was going through a period where I was questioning myself a lot, and I was having a tendency and a desire to keep things really clean and transparent. And I noticed that my mind thought it could manage all these events, and it could, you know, in some ways I can keep things more clean by what motives I use, but it was like I was saying no to things, yes to things based on how clean I thought the motives involved of me and others were. And finally it started seeming really silly, because if I just went about my life, pureness was taking care of itself. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't requiring, you know, like that. I'm not, pureness is pureness, and if it uses me at times, there it is, and if it's not, it's not. I'm not. When I got into this idea of having to keep pureness pure, it was just more of my own ego, and I don't see ego as bad, and that was all existing within the same awareness. But finally it just kind of popped, and it was like, okay, you can just go about life, you don't have to manage. It becomes so complicated, the strategies that the mind can get involved in things it's doing. And like you said, it's still all existing in this one awareness. It can't move out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm inspired by your devoted self going out into the world and sharing this with others, and being so young, and feeling that as your calling. And can you share a bit about that?
Looking back, it's really inevitable that I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes perfect sense with my story. So, what to say about it? I enjoy it. It's like, but even when I'm not really enjoying it, or when it's like very busy sometimes, or you know, you're traveling all the time, you don't really have a home base. People constantly come up to you. They want energy. They want to be fed. They want something. So it's not always as pleasant. It's not always as idolized as some people think it is. And yet there is no existential judgment about that. So there is just this pure embodiment of the fact that this is what I'm doing. So there's a deep enjoyment with surfing as I am. It just feels really, really natural. And
Yeah.
I couldn't be doing anything else.
Yeah. Yes, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it doesn't have to appear like this for everyone. Like you said, you can be painting, or you can be doing nothing. You can watch television, or whatever you feel inspired to do. But this is just my inclination to.
Yeah.
And it seems often our path, or our purpose, or whatever you want to call it, this impulse, it often coincides with our talents. Kind of what we're skilled at, or what we're really passionate about. So I would say I never really meet somebody who feels they're doing their surface as they're supposed to be doing it, when they feel like it's not for them. So there's an affection there's a passion with what you're doing. And so I guess the general statement, follow your bliss, in that instance fits very well. Just follow your bliss when it comes to, what shall I do with it, or just relax, awaken to what's already here. And then the first movement that comes from that, the first passionate response you have, that's often the direction that you're skilled in, and that you can be of service in.
I went through a period where I was traveling a lot and teaching a lot and out in the world a lot, and I thought, and I loved it, and it was complex, because so much energy was coming towards me, and like you said, people needed different things that aren't always spoken out loud, and sometimes I could respond to that, and sometimes it didn't feel like it was my place to respond to that, and sometimes I responded to that when it wasn't a good idea for my own physical body, you know, meaning I got drained and wasn't sleeping much and responding too much. And then I went through a period where I was just very reclusive and writing and writing and writing. And I wouldn't have really I wouldn't have predicted either of those would have happened. But like you said, it happened out of an affection, it happened out of a love, and it just happened naturally out of how this personality that I didn't create but find myself living in got created and interacts. I'm working on a book right now. It's called Finding Buried Treasure. It's called The Broken Heart's Buried Treasure. The Broken Heart's Buried Treasure. How to heal and find real love. And it's about that love that's in the broken heart and the whole heart and whatever experience we have. And really inviting people to step very much into their physical, emotional sensations and really feel how their humanness takes them into this. I would call it oneness. It's an abstract word, and a lot of people say, what do you mean by oneness? But it really feels very real to me. And you described it really articulately about how we just start to notice that everything is itself. Everything is one being, one energy with lots of different flavors and tones happening through it. Would you like to share anything more about that?
About what?
About this oneness that contains everything, that's full of color and sound and rising and falling. And
yeah, I think you're right. It's a very abstract concept for most people, oneness, and it's an abstract concept for me too. Like oneness. So what does it mean experientially? And I think the most direct way, at least for me and what I see with the people that I kind of work with, to experientially understand the concept of unity is to really just relax the mind for a moment. And as you enjoy this natural openness of awareness, which is here right now, which knows that I'm sitting on this couch, it knows that you are looking at your screen, there's a natural knowingness of this. And ask yourself, can I find anything within my present experience outside of this knowingness? And another more general way to go about this, as you're walking somewhere, or you're drinking something, or you're doing something, or you're doing nothing and you're meditating, doesn't really matter what you're doing, but inquire or ask yourself, can I find anything whatsoever, a sensation, a sight, a smell, a thought, an emotion, an intuition, an insight, a realization, or an experience of any other kind? Can I find any experience, anything whatsoever, apart from my experience? Or apart from life? Can I find something that is not life? Can I find a thought that is not life? Can I find an emotion which is not being created in and as life? Is there anything that's not created by and does not exist within life? And as a substitute for life, you could say awareness, or being, or even experiencing. Can I find anything outside of experiencing, outside of life? Can I find a place where the universe is not? Can I find an emotion where life is not? And as you start inquiring this, more and more you will find the answer experientially is no. I cannot really say I find an experience outside of experiencing it. I cannot really say I find an emotion that is not brought up by and sustained by life. I cannot find anything apart from life. This kind of checkmates the mind, the thinking about it, and experientially, instinctively, you will find that the realization dawns that everything is life. And it's like it's a sense of inescapability almost, like being stuck in experience, but pleasantly stuck. It's like there's a sweetness to being stuck as and in experience, or in and as life. There's no way out of life. That's what you experientially recognize as you start asking yourself this question. And include the things you resist into this. So if you feel heavy resistance, ask yourself, is this heavy resistance somehow existing apart from, independent from, or outside of life. And if you're real honest with yourself, you'll find that the experiential answer is no. And again, you checkmate your mind, and again the sense of inescapability and the sense of indivisibility or inseparability dawns. And that's what we refer to as unity or oneness. It's not that everything appears the same. It's not that I don't see a difference in anything anymore. But it's the realization that everything exactly as it is indivisible from life as it is, from awareness as it is.
I like to invite people, if you're thinking you have a thought or a physical experience or an emotional experience that would keep you somehow out of this invitation to awareness, to give yourself fully in this moment to experiencing whatever that is. So if you have a repetitive thought that takes you away from here, it can't really take you away from here, but that appears to take you away from here, to notice there's some corresponding emotional and physical sensation with that, and to dissolve, to merge, to meet, to whatever word works for you, to fully embody, to fully slip into that experience of sensation, of emotion or physical sensation. And as you slip into that, you will begin to find, if you go completely 100% into that, beyond your explanation of it, beyond your idea of whether it's needed or not needed, beyond any words, that sensation will take you somewhere. And find out where that's taking you, and where that's taking you. I invite you in this moment now to experiment with that. And I invite you to continue the experiment and inquiry even when we are no longer speaking with you and sitting with you, to find out where that takes you. So I wish to thank you so much.
Thank you, Laurie,
for this conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes. And thank everyone who's experiencing and listening, receiving this conversation.